Coming up this week on Winchester's Deadly Passion, Melissa heads to Colorado on an elk hunt for some of those big bugling bulls. It's early September, the rut is on, and Melissa is working hard to get in close with the elk. But sometimes that's a lot easier said than done. But rest assured, Melissa isn't ready to give up yet and will put on the miles in search of the right opportunity and hopefully a big Colorado bull.
September rolls around, well, elk hunting is on my mind and probably almost every other hunter. Now, I absolutely love going out west, mule deer hunting, elk hunting, just going to the beautiful places. I grew up in Minnesota, so going to a place like Colorado, well, it's a real treat. Now, on this hunt, I was going to be basically doing a do-it-yourself elk hunt. Now, I had some great property to hunt that was private land, but I was going to be going around putting everything I've got and trying to get one of these big bulls down. Now, the nice part about Colorado is the fact that they also had an early season muzzleloader hunt going on for mule deer. So I had an elk tag and a mule deer tag. Now, elk I'd be going after with a bow, but for those mule deer, well, I had an open sight muzzleloader on hand. Now, I had a good area I wanted to set up in. It was an apple orchard, but I didn't really have a great place to hunt from. We're out here in Colorado and we've been doing a little bit of scouting, and this is the big apple orchard. A lot of these deer are really coming to one of two places, and this is one of those places. We've decided to sit right at the corner. Now, this is a good place because I can see out and see for quite a ways. Now, I'm guessing most of the deer are gonna probably come off the hilltop, come down into this apple orchard, but by sitting here, we're kind of scouting as well. So it really is a lot more beneficial when you're hunting to see as much as possible. So what I've decided to do, we've got a big hayfield out in front of us where the alfalfa has just been picked and all baled. Well, we walked out, grabbed a bunch of bales, and I'm going to use those to build up and build a blind. That way we've got as natural a blind as possible, might even help a little bit with the scent, and we can still see. So I'm going to stack these bales up, try to get a good setup here, and I'm going to be sitting here this afternoon. So we're out here muzzleloader hunting in the very early season for these big Colorado muleys, and so far they all seem to still be in velvet. Now, hopefully putting in a little time midday will help us out later in the day. Well, I think I've got all my hay bales set here, and I put a piece up here just to give us a little bit of extra cover and put burlap behind me, basically to try to take out so I'm not silhouetted. Now, I'm kind of banking on the fact that most of the deer are going to come at this angle, but if something does come behind me, nice thing about the burlap is I can just kind of roll it up and still shoot out behind me. So I think with this setup, it's a little roomier than a usual ground blind. It's not as intrusive, and hopefully the deer will come right through. If the wind picks up too much and this becomes too much, I may add some extra bales on here, but for right now I think this should be good. Doesn't look like it's going to be too windy, but I have a perfect little setup in the apple orchard. Now just got to wait for the bucks to come rolling through.
Winchester's Deadly Passion is presented by Winchester, the American legend. Matthews, catch us if you can. Cuddy Back Digital. Bog Pod, versatility defined. Easton, expect the best. Winchester Repeating Arms. And Hunter Safety System.
we've got some small bucks that have been coming in close. And it's pretty cool to see these bucks. All these deer are still in velvet, but they're just not quite the buck we're after. These are pretty young deer, and this property has got some great bucks. I've hunted here in the past, had wonderful luck, never done a muzzleloader hunt here before, but we've had some great opportunities, and with these young deer coming in, I'm hoping that it'll draw in a few more deer in the area, and we've got young bucks in close, so if we can get that big boy in this close, well, I'll be in some luck. After seeing several smaller bucks come through, I looked over and I got a glimpse of a bear coming right to me. Now, I've hunted Colorado before and I have never seen a bear, so it was pretty cool, especially being in a ground blind. But unfortunately, I wasn't sure if he scared all the mule deer off or if there were just no more coming, but it really slowed down. But as I sat there, I kind of was thinking back to some of the hunts that I've had on this exact field. In fact, just this last year, I spent 10 days hunting and filming myself on this very field in Colorado on an early season archery mule deer hunt. There was one big high rack muley that I was after, and it seemed impossible to get close to him until I finally figured out where he was bedding, and I tried to get in front of him and literally just set up in the bushes. It was nice to know that I had finally figured it out, and as I sat there and watched him come through, I could barely believe my eyes. One by one, these deer started filing through. Now, I was all set up, my camera was on them, but I couldn't stop shaking. I got to full draw and I just waited. As soon as I had my shot, I released my arrow, and the coolest thing I had ever seen, I got right back on the camera and this buck went down on camera. I could hardly believe my eyes. I was so excited, and let's just say I did a little happy dance because I was thrilled. Look at this buck. This has been a buck. I have put more time into this guy. I have so much footage of him, been filming out here on my own, and he is an absolute beauty. Now, my very first year to Colorado, well, I definitely got an eyeful. I was hunting on a late season hunt with my rifle. Now, there were non-stop deer coming through on a daily basis. I found a place to set up and I literally watched them parade by. When this big 3x4 popped out, well, I knew he was an absolute giant. He was a shooter, no question. And the best part is, well, there were all sorts of other bucks, so it's not like we didn't have other options. In fact, as I was following him, another buck came right by, and he was nice as well. But he looked a little bit younger, and I was set on this big mature buck. Now the hard part is, well, there were a lot of obstacles in the way. I'd have the shot, my cameraman, no, I don't have him. He'd have it perfectly set up, nope, no shot for me. Now as he weaved in and out, I started getting a little nervous. Am I gonna blow it? Am I not gonna get this shot? Next thing I know, there's a Texas Longhorn right in the way. So I was really getting worried that this buck was just gonna continue to cruise on through. See him? I don't have a shot right now. Now I've got a perfect opening. He hits that opening. Now you're on him. You got it. Now, one of the coolest parts, well, walking up to this deer, I was in for one big surprise. This buck had a huge unicorn point coming right out of the middle of his head. It was really pretty cool, but with two very good hunts under my belt, well, it was obvious why I was so confident in this spot. But this year, it just wasn't happening. And part of being a hunter is knowing when the time is up. And I felt that my time would probably be best spent out chasing elk. I wanted to go after some elk, and the problem is where I'd be hunting was just a little too far away from the mule deer location, so I had to commit to one or the other, so I decided it was time to go after those bulls.
Tip of the Week is brought to you by Can-Am ATVs and side-by-side vehicles.
As a bow hunter, we all want to be the best shot possible, and there are a couple of ways to achieve this. First, the obvious, you need to practice, but it's also important to have the right tools. And today we're focusing on arrow selection. Up until now, only Olympic archers had the luxury of using small diameter arrows, but all that's changed. So before, conventional broadheads and inserts actually prevented us from using a small diameter shaft in bow hunting. Basically, we had reached the limit. That is until Easton came up with the Deep Six innovation and the injection arrows. Now bow hunters can benefit from the same technology as the best shooters in the world. So obviously Olympic archers have mastered the art of shooting, but you're probably wondering, how can this technology help me in the field? How about less wind drift, better accuracy, and deeper penetration? Do I have your attention now? First, the reason the injection arrows can be so thin is because the Deep Six stainless inserts that were created. These inserts provide 25% more thread engagement and they're 65% stronger. Because of this, they also secure your broadhead tighter to your arrow. Now this insert is made out of high-density steel, which moves the weight forward, increasing front and center balance, which gives you a better arrow flight and tighter groups. All things we can surely appreciate as bow hunters. Now for the improved penetration. All the kinetic energy of your arrow has been focused down into the small diameter shaft, giving you deeper penetration on every single shot. You'll also notice significant improvement when shooting in the wind, which can be a pretty common occurrence to any avid bow hunter. The smaller diameter shaft is more aerodynamic, causing less wind drift on your shot. Let's face it, just a little wind drift can cause a good shot to go bad by drifting just a few inches. So of course you need to practice and get out there before the season arrives, but make sure you're practicing with the best equipment possible. Switching to the Easton injection will give you less wind drift, better accuracy, and deeper penetration. So those bucks and bulls, well, they better beware. Tonight I'm set up on a really green, lush field looking for some elk to come through. Now we've got the higher hills over here, and a lot of these elk are bedding up there during the day, and when it comes towards evening, they're coming down and they're looking for these green fields. So instead of bringing in a ground blind or anything, I climbed right in these bushes and I'm all set up. I'm really well hidden, but I also have a good vantage point and can see well. But these elk are looking for the green, nice grass, and we've got alfalfa, we've got just a perfect field out there, a good wind. Now we just gotta wait for them to come down, and I just hope they don't end up coming down too late in the evening. Unfortunately, that's exactly what happened. The elk stayed up high too long and weren't hitting the green fields below until well after dark. So I decided tomorrow I'm gonna stay mobile and hunt the high country. I'm out here and it's mid-September. Usually the bulls are starting to really ramp it up, but this week they're just not. I'm not sure if it's from the dry weather or what, but we really need to start hunting these bulls completely different. When they're bugling, well, you can get a place as to where they are and make your stock accordingly. But right now we don't have that luxury. So I've gotten up to the highest point and I'm gonna try to just look down into the areas where some of these elk would bed. If I can get a visual on one of these bulls, hopefully I can go ahead and make the stock, but the wind is pretty tough right now, so I'm basically gonna sit up high, look around for a while, and see if I can maybe spot one of these bulls. I'm hoping maybe by the end of the week they'll start bugling, but I'm not sure if it's the dry weather or what's got them quiet, but they're just not ready to ramp up yet. Colorado is an incredible state for elk, and I really enjoy just the scenery, seeing the animals, even if you're not getting in close. And elk, well, they can be pretty tough, and it's not just a simple hunt where you can go out, put in a little time, and come home with a bull. It's a lot more than that. And on this elk hunt, we were definitely putting in the miles, glassing, walking around, just not seeing a lot of bulls up close. We'd see them moving, but an elk is pretty tough to get up close to, especially if they're on the move. Their forelegs can move a lot faster than mine, even if I'm going as fast as possible. So we decided we need to get up high, glass these bulls, and kind of try to pattern them out. I was going to use some of my skills as a whitetail hunter. I was going to try to figure out where they were going and either set up in a tree if one was available or get down on the ground and try stalking them. They just weren't coming into calls real well yet, so I decided I'm not going to force something that's not working. I'm going to try to get in front of them, stalk them, scout them, and see what I could do.
Winchester's Deadly Passion is presented by Swarovski Optic, North American Hunting Club, Rage Broadheads, Golden Triangle Whitetail, Can-Am ATVs and side-by-side vehicles, Scent Killer Gold with Hunt Dry technology, and M&P Advanced by Design. Closed captioning is brought to you by the 4-in-1 Woodsman from Zippo Outdoor.
As a hunter, regardless of what you're hunting, you have to be able to adapt to the conditions. And this was one of the driest years on record in Colorado. So I knew water was key. So I got up high, found one area that looked like it still had plenty of water, went down, checked it out, and the sign was there. These elk, well, they were definitely coming into this watering hole. So I thought, I may try to hunt during the day in several locations, but for those early morning and evening sits, this is exactly where I wanted to be. Now, most people don't think of sitting in a tree stand for elk hunting, but it can be just as effective as whitetail hunting. And I always have tree stands in my truck. So I grabbed one of these stands, brought it out, and got all set up in the one tree by the waterhole. Now, I was pretty lucky that there was a tree, because if not, well, elk can get pretty spooky if you're sitting on the ground or you move a blind into the area. But luckily, we had a tree. I hung it, got everything set up, and now it was time to wait. Well, after putting in a lot of time trying to walk through this dark timber and getting up to some high points, we haven't had much success getting up close to an elk. Sometimes you'll hear them, but it's really tough with these thermals, the wind, it's constantly changing. So when we were up high, we did spot this nice water hole. Now, this is really nice and close to the dark timber, so I'm thinking these elk, they're gonna probably come to some of the first water they can see out of that dark timber, and hopefully this will be the spot. And it really looks like both sides are tracked up nicely. We're gonna crawl up here, sit tight, and see if these elk will come on through. As I'm sitting on stand, well, elk started moving. As soon as that sun started setting, there were elk on the move. And this was a big bonus because I hadn't been having very much luck so far. So now I knew I'm at least in the vicinity of where the elk are. The problem is, well, I didn't really want to stay in my stand. I can see elk moving, I can see bulls in the distance, and I thought, I need to get out of the stand and go stalk those bulls. But I decided I'm not doing that till the end. I want to sit it out. I want to see if they're coming into the area. Because let's face it, for an archery hunt, I feel more comfortable staying in that stand and getting a nice close shot. But as I waited, my patience did not pay off. And unfortunately, well, darkness came before the elk. I was pretty disappointed, but there was no question as to where I was going to be going in the morning. My plan was to sit the same stand, same water hole, with only one change. If I saw a bull, I was not sitting still. The next morning, I was back at it, and as soon as light hit, I saw a herd of elk about 500 yards off in the distance. Well, you guessed it, I wasn't gonna sit around and wait this time. Plus, my wind wasn't great for the direction they were coming, so I wanted to cut those elk off and get in a place where I would have the right wind on the ground. So I got down, got to the edge where I had a little bit of cover, and I just waited. I was hoping that I knew where the elk were starting, and I had a pretty good idea of where they were going. So if I could get in the middle, I thought this is very doable. As I started sitting there, one cow came by, another cow, and then the bull came by. We just had a giant bull come right in. We had the cows coming. We actually got out of the tree stand, came down here, and it worked out perfectly. My heart is just pounding like crazy right now. I had no idea he was gonna come in that close, and he is big. Well, we just found the arrow. We've got blood almost all the way up to the fletchings. It must have come when Screwdriver came off, but we've got really good blood all the way through here. Look at the size of this bull. This is just awesome. Been out here hunting hard in Colorado, and we just had the perfect setup coming. The cows came out wider, but this big bull came right on in. 35-yard shot, just awesome.